that shit is, my nigga. Yeah, I be lying to you, fuck with tell you the truth. Yeah, you know, bow our heads, let's pray. I just call it how I see it, my nigga. I don't know the way, you know. Roll one way you at it, though. Get everybody gather, you know what I'm saying? I got something to say. What got something to say? Yeah. Church off in these streets, nigga. Church off in these streets, man. Hey, bring the good word. Pass it on. Yeah. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Yeah. From my street disciples, church off in these streets. Call my congregation, church off in these streets. Call me Pastor Young, I came to spread the word. Spread the word like my partner spread the bird. You get there how you live it, just say hallelujah. You out here and you poppin', best to have your shoe. I said it and I meant it, so you know it did. I came to spread the word and church off in the streets. Heard he took a unit, broke it down to singles. Take them one by one just like them bitches Pringles. Heard he lost it all and then he got it back. Oh, them folks will tell, that's why I got attached. I'm in this bitch, I'm feeling like $1 million. Okay, I'm lying, you know I'm short $1 million. The first around the corner got a nigga stressed. Just hope he send a blessing up in my direction. Hey, from my street disciples, church off in these streets. Call my congregation, church off in these streets. Call me Pastor Young, I came to spread the word. Spread the word like my partner spread them birds. You get there how you live it, just say hallelujah. You out here and you poppin', best to have your shoe. I said I've been a minute, so you know it did. I came to spread the word. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in now and in the future. Today we will continue our discussion on narcissists, how to protect, how to detach, what they do, looking out for their MOs, the modus operandi. You know what I mean? All right. What's going on? It's a beautiful Sunday out here. You know what I mean? Hope you had a good week. Hope you're going to have a good holiday. So far, it's great for me. I have to say, there's a couple of good things going on with me. Oh. All right. So have a seat. We're going to take a while. I think this is going to be a very long not live stream. Well, it's not going to be live on YouTube, but I am working with a couple of different platforms that this is going to be on, and a couple of different audiences that are relevant to this topic of narcissism. So let me kind of just explain the purpose of this, because as I said, this is going to go on a couple of different platforms, and the purpose of this, first and foremost, is for myself. An artist, always a true artist, and I consider myself an artist, no matter what medium I use. It may be a technical medium, it may be a computer, it may be software, it may be physical exercise, a weight bench, it may be a paintbrush. But behind everything, I consider myself an artist, first and foremost. So an artist, at least in my view of what an artist is, and in the historical sense, artists create for themselves. The art that you see and that you appreciate, you create for yourself first and foremost.
It is for your own evolution. It is for your own transformation and transition and betterment, evolving to bigger and better and higher. And ultimately, it's the alchemy, right? The alchemy of old, where we're turning lead into gold, right? So, having said that, we are going to talk about some serious lead today, narcissists and their abuse and the effects that they've had on people and the things that people are experiencing and sometimes what they can do about it, right? And an artist, they create their art, and the art of the artist is necessary for the mass consciousness, for the rest of the population, for the community, for the human community. Without art, we don't have any life. And, you know, I can spend all day talking about art, but I really need to get to the narcissism part. But the whole purpose of this is for a permanent record, a permanent resource for protection and healing from narcissistic and toxic people, places, and things. To have a permanent source and reservoir, this video is going to symbolize a permanent source and reservoir of power and empowerment, of strength and dominion over your own reality, your own world. So this is first and foremost something that I'm going to be using. This is something I'm creating for myself to use, that I can watch and listen to and review and take my own advice. First and foremost. So I use these videos that I create when I work out in the gym, when I'm cleaning, when I'm running errands. I will listen to some of my own videos, especially the ones on narcissism, because I'm not saying anything that you don't already know, that other people don't already know, but these are things that we can always stand to be reminded of more often than not, right? There's not too many, it's never too much to be reminded of these things that I'm going to talk to you about for the next 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 24 hours. Okay, I don't know how long this thing is going to be, but I have a feeling it's going to be some time. Excuse me. And that's all right. The more the better. For me, it's all about self-awareness. And, I may not be doing a good job of it at all. I might be doing the crappiest job in the world of working at self-awareness, but at least I'm trying. Okay, that's all I can say about that. At least I'm trying. And that's the way you can look at yourself, no matter where you are in this whole picture, in this whole scenario. Hey, you may have cool people around in your life. You may have never had to deal with a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic spouse or lover or neighbor or boss or coworker. And consider yourself lucky. But this is still something that you might be able to benefit from, in the sense that, hey, if nothing else, you could just be entertained. Okay? But, I invite you to sit down here next to the fireplace. We've got our cat and our dog chilling here. We got a nice hot cup of coffee, or you can make yourself some tea. Hell, if you want a beer, go grab a beer. Whatever it is, a glass of wine by the fireplace and some brie cheese, and fourth a cup of cashews, some roasted cashews, whatever it is you want. I've got my stuff over here, and we are ready to go. Wheels up in 10 seconds. All right. So again, the purpose here is to have some kind of reservoir that you can go back to and listen to and marinate on. And these things that I'm talking about, you already know them, but it's good to trigger them. Triggers aren't all bad. Not all triggers are bad. Not all hot buttons are bad. Not all anchors are bad. And when you're talking about triggers, they're really something of a pattern. It's a button that, you hit that button and this is how that person's going to act and feel and think, right? Excuse me. And if you're at the mercy of triggers, we all have triggers. We all have triggers. If you're a human being, you've got triggers. It's just part of being human. You've got triggers. You've got vulnerabilities. You've got hot buttons that people can push. Okay? Now, ethical people, nice people, they're not going to abuse you. They're not going to exploit these hot buttons. But you've got abusers out there that will exploit those hot buttons. Okay? Now, having said that, okay, we all have been guilty of pushing people's buttons. Okay? And there are extremes to that, right? It's never a nice thing, right? But it's different when you're pushing someone's buttons to the extreme and when it's consistently over time and when it's being used as a domination and power and control tactic, constant manipulation. Okay, that's when it's pathological. All right. Now, I'm not making excuses for anybody who may have been pushing your buttons or pushing my buttons, okay, in a manipulative way, okay? Everyday good people do their share of manipulation and hot button pushing and all of that, okay? But what I'm telling you is it's not to that extreme degree we're going to cover here, okay? All right? Narcissism. We all have a measure of narcissism. A healthy human being needs a measure of narcissism to survive, to function. There's nothing wrong with a balanced type of self-love and self-preservation, right? We all need to have a measure of that. But now I'm speaking today on these types of characters that are on the extreme end. And it is self first at other people's expense. And the cost is atrocious. I'm talking about narcissistic incubators. Females that have given birth but that are of the dark cluster, ASP, antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, under that umbrella of ASPD, antisocial personality disorder. This, I'm talking about the DSMV, mental health. And under that dark cluster, you've got a number of other subcategories. You have narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. You have psychopathy, sociopathy, sociopath, psychopath. You have histrionic, borderline. Now, histrionic and borderline, these types of personality disorders are not as extreme as the narcissist and sociopath and psychopath. But yet, these types of personality disorders can wreak a lot of havoc, pain, and misery in your life if you're dealing with someone like that. The difference between a borderline and histrionic versus the narcs and the psychopaths is that the histrionics and the borderlines may not, they don't necessarily intend to go out and hurt people and do all these things out of malignancy. That doesn't mean that they're any easier to deal with. Okay, and I myself, I do not deal with any of these individuals in that dark cluster. Now, let me tell you, I'm no mental health expert, but I do have a lot of life experience. I have half a century of life experience under my belt, just about, okay? And when I know and see certain red flags about people, certain things, certain patterns, when I smell certain smells, and I'm not talking about physical smells, there are non-physical smells, certain types of people have, and I'm telling you, every time I have seen the signs, I let go. I set people free. I make sure that I am not in their vicinity, and if I have to be, I keep it short. I grave rock the fuck out of them. Grave rock the hell out of their asses. Nope, nope, nope. You are getting nothing from me. You are getting minimal attention. Only what has to be for this transaction to succeed, whether it's in a work setting or whatever kind of setting, but you're not getting nothing from me. Monotone responses, one word responses. Yes, no. How are you doing? Good. That's it. You're not getting nothing. Nothing. Okay? Because you have to preserve yourself with these narcs and these types of people in the dark cluster. All right. So, first of all, I want to talk to you and let you know that what doesn't break you, what is that saying? What doesn't kill you? What was that saying they have? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? You've heard of that saying. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, you know what? That's not always true. That's not always true. Because some of this stuff can kill you and break you. And some people never recover from the abuse of other people. Some people never recover. There are narcissistic parents, and can we call them really parents? I'm going to put air quotation marks around the word parents, because I don't think people understand that there are two types of parents. There are people that are responsible for you being born, and then there are people that are actually nurturing and mean you well, and guidance and providers and unconditional love. Okay? But the people who are responsible for your birth, you don't owe them anything. You don't owe a narcissistic parent a damn thing. You hear me? I want you to stop feeling guilty right now. I know it's easier said than done, but if you're one of these people out here that has had to put their foot down and has had to make a choice between your well-being and staying with someone or keeping someone in your life for the sake of family or whatever it is that, you know, these people want to tag things onto, you know, we need to stick together for unity's sake and for family's sake and for our church's sake and for our group's sake. Fuck all that bullshit if the person is abusing you. All right? Society doesn't understand estrangement, family estrangement. Society in general doesn't deal very well with the reality of familial estrangement. Society does not understand. A lot of people don't understand and they don't want to understand, and that is fine. They cannot understand. And I think it's a blessing for them. When I meet somebody and, you know, they're having a hard time dealing with their situation and they don't understand why you know, someone else may cut a family member off. Listen, you may have gone through something and you're in denial. You want to go out there and tell the world and yourself, you're still trying to convince yourself that you had a picture perfect happy childhood when in reality there was other shit going on, and you just can't get it together. And you see someone else who has made those hard decisions that you know you need to do. And now you want to twist it around and now tell them, oh, they're doing something wrong and how could you do that? When you need to be cleaning up your own family mess first. No, no. Don't even try it with me. Don't even try it with me. Now, I know there might be some people out there that have had decent family, okay? And you still can't understand it. You might be sitting there saying, "Oh, I would never cut off my child. I would never cut off my child for a religion. I would never be in a religion that makes me cut off my only child. I would never cut off my brothers and sisters. I would never cut my family off." Well, consider yourself lucky that you don't understand that. Because I think if you had some understanding of it, that would mean that you would have had to experience being cut off or having to cut off. You know what I mean? Being in that situation, being cut off. Excuse me. Okay. Right? Right? I laugh about it now because I've been on both sides of that. I have been cut off in my youth. When I was a kid, I was shunned and semi-shunned before I was 18, and I was shunned after I turned into an adult too. Shunned. Left with nothing. Even kept my ID. Now, what can somebody do with someone else's ID? Why would your narc parent keep your your driver's license? You know, just leave you with absolutely nothing. You're on the street, motherfucker. You don't even have an ID to go get a hotel or go to the hospital and get treated. But that's what these narcs do. That's exactly a classic narc. And, we're going to go through this now, but I want you to understand, if you're somebody who's had to cut off a narc in your life, especially if it's someone who was responsible for your birth, I'm not going to call these people parents and fathers and mothers. I'm going to call them responsible for your birth. The best thing they can get is incubator and sperm donor. These people, you don't owe them anything. Let me tell you why. These people want to put that fog on you, that fear, obligation, and guilt. They want to put all that on you. I did everything, and I sacrificed my whole life, and I provided food, clothing, and shelter for you. Well, motherfucker, that is what you were supposed to do. That kid didn't ask to be born, bitch. You open your legs in bed. You slept with somebody and made this baby. This baby didn't ask to be born. That was your fucking job. That was your responsibility. What, you think you did someone a favor because you didn't give that kid up for adoption? What kind of shitty motherfucker gives their kid up for adoption? What kind of shitty, quote-unquote, mother carries a child for 9 months in her stomach and gives it up for adoption? I'm talking about a mother who has a job and that baby came through normal means. I'm not talking about somebody who was violated in extenuating circumstances. I'm talking about a regular female adult with a job, having boyfriends or casual sex or whatever, being careless, and now you have a baby. What kind of shitty mother, quote unquote, thinks that she does the baby a favor by not giving it up for adoption? What kind of bullshit is that? Huh? What kind of bullshit father and mother sit there and tell their child over and over that they're doing the child a favor by feeding and clothing it and providing it shelter? Who the hell else is supposed to do it, huh? Your neighbor didn't lay in bed and make this baby. Your parents didn't make this baby. Your siblings didn't make it. Your church members didn't make it. Well, who the hell else is supposed to be taking care of this helpless kid? And you are going around thinking that you did someone a favor that you did something out of the graciousness of your heart, this is your responsibility. But see, these narcs don't have any kind of conception of responsibility. Anything they do for you, and I want you to think back onto your childhood and always remember, anything a narc parent does for you that's seemingly for your benefit, that seems to be a nice thing, always, always, always remember the number one intent behind their actions is for themselves first. It is not for you. It is not for you. You must always remember that. But the narc likes to brainwash. And the narc will try his or her best to brainwash you into thinking it was all for you. That they were so selfless in what they did. But it was the opposite. It is the total opposite. It is always about how the narc looks to other people. That's always the name of the game. So if they happen to have done something nice for you, trust and believe it was for their own, first and foremost. You just so happen to benefit. But trust and believe, they didn't do this for you at all. They couldn't have cared two shits about your well-being. And that's the truth. A narcissist does not know how to love. They don't love their children. I know society doesn't understand that there are females here on this planet that can carry a child for 9 months and not love that child. They just don't love. They don't want to, and they don't. They don't. They can't even love themselves. How are they going to love you? A narc deep down behind that layer, that mask that the narcissist parent wears, deep down is emptiness and void that they can never fill, and self-loathing. Now they cake it and layer it with all kinds of other emotions and posturing and faking and smoke screens and lies and deception, all of that. But trust and believe, they got no love inside their soul. They don't have a soul. They don't have a soul. They're vampires, always needing your energy and other people's energy. They need that narcissistic supply, and they will take it however they can get it. And if you cut them off, they get desperate. They go looking for old narc supply and anybody and everybody they can. They'll hoover you thinking they can get you back some kind of way, when reality is, bitch, it's over. Like, you burned that fucking bridge good, bitch. Oh, man. So yeah, I've had some discussions with some people, some friends and other people, acquaintances, and it seems that people are really interested in the narcissistic topic, narcissistic parents, getting away from a narcissist, protecting yourself, that kind of thing, mental health. There's a huge need for people to have information on that. And I think there are a lot of adults walking around with wounds from narc abuse, parental narc abuse. And like I said, it can be varying extremes. Some people's parents didn't necessarily beat them or molest them, but emotional cruelty, mental cruelty is just as horrible. And sometimes I think it can be worse in the sense that you don't see it. There's not a scar on the body, right? It's kind of hard to pinpoint and track and even be aware of. As a kid, you grow up thinking that this is how everybody's family is. You think this is how everybody's mother and father is. It's only after you become an adult a lot of times that you realize, hey, something was wrong here. No, this is not. You know, a counselor, it's only after you might go through a crisis, if you go to a counselor for something totally different, that you start to realize this other stuff that you went through in your childhood was not normal. It was not healthy. And the scary thing is, it might have even been very, very, very cruel and abusive. It's scary to realize that about some people's parents, because some of these narcs are really, really covert. You know, you have the overt narcs and you have the covert narcs, or you also have the vulnerable narc. There's different flavors of narcissism. They don't all act the same way, but they all have certain things in common, which is putting themselves always first at other people's expense, and they have no empathy or compassion for other people. They cannot put themselves in other people's feelings to be aware that, hey, maybe I should protect my child from being molested because this could ruin my child's life. They don't have that. To them, it's like, oh, I'm going to lose the house. You know, if this kid keeps talking about what's happening here at home, then I'm going to lose this house. Yeah, that's how they think. So when that child comes to them and says, Mom, please help me, I'm being molested by your husband. Why are you letting him beat me and strip me down naked? She says, well, if you keep talking about it, we're going to lose the house. So in essence, that narc basically has sold off her own flesh and blood. And you know there's a special kind of hell for these narcs like that. There is a special kind of hell. And I'm not talking about in Christian hell. I'm not Christian. I don't believe in any of that. Okay? If you are, that's fine with you. But I'm talking about a whole other hell. Whole other hell. Hell is real. It's not, I don't know if it's the way that some of these religions, because you don't have to die to go to hell. You can live in hell right now. And there are people living in pure hell right now. Okay, you don't have to die to go to heaven either. There are people living in heaven right now, doing real good. Got peace, got love in their life. They got everything they want and need, you know? So there is a special kind of hell for those kind of narc people. But what they like to do, these narcs, they like to put guilt feelings on you. They like to get you confused. They like to stir up conflict and chaos and all of that in your life. And they like to feed off of your misfortune. You know, these motherfuckers won't call you when you're doing good. They really won't, you know, they'd be like, okay, whatever. But if they think you're down and out, if they think there's a disaster or, you know, something happened to you or you're in the middle of something crazy, they love that. They love for you to be depressed and down and out because they feed off of that. They're nasty parasites. You know how like maggots feed off of feces and human waste and natural waste and stuff that's been fermented and putrefied and dead and decayed? That's what these are. These are the mental, emotional decay eaters. They are, and they induce it. You know, it's one thing if it's something that eats it naturally, but these things, they induce it in people. They love to feed off of other people's down and outness. They love it. That's where they feel comfortable. They can't be with somebody on the same equal level as them or better. No, because then it's like, well, who do I feed off? This person's doing better than me. I can't get close to someone like that. Nah, because they're too jealous, you see. In their mind, someone that's excelling at something, in anything that they aren't, you know, in their mind, it takes away from them. So they don't really roll with those people. They don't really rock and roll with people like that. But then they'll look at somebody who they think is beneath them, and it might even be a racist one. I know a narc who married a black man. She's a white woman, married a black man, and as soon as he was out of, hearing distance, she would call him a dumb country N-word. Loved to use the N-word behind his back. Couldn't wait to call him a dumb country and she would always do it like, oh, well, so-and-so is probably thinking of him as a dumb country or they probably think of him as a dumb country but it was her calling him dumb country nobody else ever said it. It was her. And, other racial things. So, it's like a lot of people wouldn't think that she was racist, but she was and still is, you see. So, that's another side note. Just because you see somebody marrying a different race doesn't mean they're not racist. They can still be as racist as fuck and go to bed with that same race they're racist against. Hell, they can even have kids. I've seen and known, I'm telling you, I know a racist to this day who laid in bed with a black man and was racist against blacks. And had almost nothing but black as friends. But again, she chose certain ones, not the kinds that she saw beneath her, the ones that didn't have as much money as her. So when she did buy them a hamburger or, put a little gas in their car, it was a big deal to them because, they were on the system. They barely had any money. And she stereotyped these people. And this is the kind of people that she would surround herself with. She couldn't deal with the ones that were actually doing better than her, and that she couldn't look down on. No. Couldn't do it. And she couldn't do that with anybody, any race, but especially certain races that she looked down on. So yeah, these narcs, they are very, very good at deception, and playing a role. And just being, I would say they are a narcissist. Don't keep a narcissist in your life. I don't care how, once they are a narcissist, like once you understand and see that, they will ruin you. They will drain you and they will ruin you. Give them enough time. It's like the frog in boiling water. You're the frog, the narc is the boiling water. And, they'll put you in that pot in lukewarm water and you'll be like, oh, it's not bad, they're okay, maybe it's not as I thought, maybe it's not the way I thought, because you don't want to think of people like that, like, right? You want to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially if it's supposed to be somebody that's a close family, right? I'm here to tell you, you're going to be boiled up like that frog. They're going to gradually turn that heat on and on and on until you are boiled. You are done. Stick a fork in you because you are done and you will not recover. You will not recover from this one this time. This time, this narc made sure to do her job right, to finish the fucking job right, and you were not getting away this time. Nope. So, this Christmas, this holiday season, you need to be looking at giving yourself a new type of gift if you haven't. And if you already have this kind of gift, you need to be looking at giving yourself that same gift again to the nth power. And that is the gift of freedom, the gift of peace, the gift of well-being, safety, and protection, and detachment from these types of people. All right, let's see. Now, I want to tell you this. No parent is perfect, right? But there are different degrees and levels Okay. So I wanted to tell you earlier, I told you, don't feel guilty. Don't feel any obligation to these people that are responsible for your birth. Now, I'm all about honoring your mother and father. But honoring doesn't mean let them abuse you. Honoring your mother and father doesn't mean keep them in your life if they're toxic abusers and if they have, if they're narcissists, if they're dangerous people. That's not what honor your father and mother means. Okay? Honor your father and mother doesn't mean denying the reality of what happened to you and what they did or didn't do as parents. That is not what honor your father and mother means. Honor your father and mother doesn't mean keep silent if your stepfather has molested you and beat you. Honor your father and mother doesn't mean pretend that your mother is an innocent person in all this when she was actually the one instigating it. She wasn't just enabling it, she was instigating it, and she was there for every one of those beatings. Okay, let's lay it out here raw. Lay it out here raw. What did you go through, and what are you still trying to deny halfway? That's not what honor your father and mother means. Maybe that's what the narcs told you it meant, but that's not what it means. Yeah, like I said, I'm all for family. I'm all for honoring and respecting the elderly people, not elders as in church elders, but I'm talking about elderly and mature people and respecting people who are older than you and parents and all of that. I'm all for that. But we need to now make a distinction as to what that really means, respect. Respect is a two-way street. And you don't just automatically give respect to anybody that comes along. Okay, they have to earn your respect just like you have to earn theirs. And it doesn't matter how old they are. If they're 50 years old or 8 years old, you still need to earn that individual's respect through time and actions. Plain and simple. And if you're somebody who is responsible for someone's birth, same thing. It's not automatic, bitch. Just because you're responsible for someone's birth is not automatically going to entitle you to anything from that person. That's your responsibility. You laid in bed, you made that kid, whether you did it on accident or not, that's on you. When you lay in bed, you know there's a chance of you having children, unless you're sterile. Okay, so when you lay in bed, that was what you knew was going to happen possibly. So then it's not this kid's fault. It's not this individual. This individual didn't ask to be born. You didn't do them any favors. You did your responsibility part way and didn't do it fully. You did a shitty job overall to begin with. Okay? But it is not an obligation for that person to give you the opportunity to continue to abuse them. No, you don't do that. No. So you don't owe that narc parent or these individuals responsible for your birth, you don't owe them a damn thing. Okay? So you can let go of any fear, any obligation, and any guilt. And I know that might be easier said than done. Another thing that people like to say, aside from what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, some of them, they'll say, if my father hadn't beaten me as bad as he didn't, then I wouldn't be able to have all this discipline I have now. And I wouldn't, I'm thankful my grandpa beat me the way he did. And he used to give me beatings before I even did anything, And I'm glad he did because he toughened me up for life. And, I'm thankful to my mother for, just making me tough and not giving me much attention and toughen me up. Listen here. Listen right now, okay? Don't you dare give these fucking abusers a drop of credit. You are where you are right now, and all of the things that you have succeeded in, whether it's holding down a job, raising a family, owning your own home, or just surviving life another day. Maybe you don't have anything to your name, but you're still alive and here. You're still alive. Okay? All of that is because of you. Don't you dare give that abuser any credit. It's because you were able to turn around a measure of that abuse into something positive for yourself. It's you that you need to thank and what you've done, because that abuser hasn't done anything to contribute to your well-being. You need to understand everything they did was for themselves, and all of the abuse was to hurt you so they can feed off of pain. This is their drug, misery, other people's pain and misery. Unfortunately, you had a parent, someone who was responsible for your birth, like this. So you were the easiest source of supply. And in the midst of all that, you were ruined. And now you have to pick up the pieces and heal yourself. It can be done. You can have success at it, but you need to get your attitude straight first. You need to look at what belongs where and to who it belongs. The credit belongs to you. You did the hard work up until this point, whether you've gone to a counselor or not. Like I said, whatever you're trying to credit to that abuser, you need to take apart, look into pieces, and look at the details very clearly. It is you and what you've done and the work you've done, and perhaps the other people that have helped you in that journey. But it is not that narc abuser. So stop giving these abusers credit, okay? Because that is not accurate one bit. Don't sit around and say, "Oh, I'm glad they did that, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been tough," and da 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 da. Really? Really? Come on now. Are you going to give credit to a serial killer? Are we going to give credit to rapists? Because this is what they are. They're killers. They may not have physically killed you, but they're soul killers. Soul. They kill a child's soul. They rape the mind. It may not be, these narcs, not all narcs are sexual predators in the sense of physical sexual predators, but in the sense they still rape your mind, they rape your life, they rape your soul. They take your energy. They steal your energy. They want to dominate you. They want to enslave you to them. They need you to need them. And if you don't need them enough for their comfort, you let them stay in your life, they're going to fix it to where you need them. To where you need them to the degree that they want you to need them. Because it's all about power to them. They don't have any power over you if you don't need them. And if you're aware that you don't need them, that is their worst nightmare. Okay? So stop feeling guilty. Stop buying into that brainwashing. You don't owe these people anything. You don't owe these people anything. And if you decide you want to deal with these people, that's on you. But this is not something you owe them. You didn't lay in bed and have parents. Okay, let's just put it right. Okay? You didn't have a choice in the matter. Wouldn't it be great if we could choose our parents, Wouldn't it be great if we could if it was like before we were born, a pre-birth, we could go to this store and we could choose the make and model of a good set of parents. You know what I mean? Anyway, back to this here. So, the trauma doesn't make you stronger. Understand, trauma and abuse doesn't make you stronger. But what makes you stronger is you turning that around for yourself in your healing process. And like I said, whether you've done it through counseling or other means, or a combination, the credit goes to you. Because if you didn't make those decisions and didn't do the work, then you wouldn't be where you are now. That narc had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. Because how do you know you wouldn't be where you are now anyway? How do you know you're not just that badass and that fucking strong that you overcame to whatever extent? Maybe you're not done with the whole thing yet, but you overcame it in those areas where now you might be a little confused as to who gets credit for that. Okay? And even if the narc did something to help you along, like I said, it was for them first. That's where you get confused, and that's where the narc likes to cause confusion. The narc likes to make you think this is a human being like everybody else, but it's not. It's not. Some people call them demons. I hesitate to call these people demons. I don't want to sully the name of demons, because not all demons are evil. And in fact, the word daemon, actually means just spirit. It means a guiding spirit. But, we have all of this Christian thing. For Christians, when they come along and colonize other nations and other races and people, then whatever their spirituality is, it's all evil and the devil. It's all demonized. And that's where that demon thing comes from. Because it's really just a way, again, to overpower others and control and dominate. And we see this on a big mass scale when we see nations like Europe, nations of Europe colonizing the natives in America and colonizing the natives in Asia and Africa and enslaving people. We see this all the time. We see Africans enslaving Africans. We see all of this. This is human nature to some extent, but it is also a thing that we need to evolve from, and that we have been as a mass human consciousness on a mass scale, but individually now we're talking about the same thing. And that fog and confusion that these narcs like to put on you, they like to make you think and act in certain ways and manipulate you for their own gain and power. Okay, so let me let you in on a secret. When you are dealing with a narc, now let's say you have to deal with a narc, maybe this particular narc isn't as extreme as others, and maybe you have to keep dealing with that narc. Maybe it's an in-law, maybe it's someone on your job, okay? Everything with that narc, everything with anybody, it boils down to transactions, right? There's transactions, whether you're speaking to them, there's a transaction, whether you're writing, whatever interaction you have with them, there is a transaction, there is an exchange of energy. Okay, even if you're silent, there's still your energy and your attitude and your vibe and their vibe and attitude. And if you're in front of each other, you're going to observe these things about each other, and that is a transaction. You're going to observe and see them and receive what they're talking about or doing, and same thing with them. So there's always a transaction, even if it's online, even if you're not physically in front of each other, there's a transaction. So here's the thing. In any relationships boil down to transactions. He or she who cares the least in the relationship has the power when you're dealing with a narcissist. Think about that for a minute. You're dealing with a narcissist. The person that cares the least in that relationship has the power. So if you are that person and you are detached, you are detached enough, you are indifferent enough You have apathy. There is indifference, apathy, and detachment, lack of interest, unbotheredness. Guess what that narcissist has? Zero. That narc has nothing. That narc is going to freak out. You see? Now, it might be hard for you to get to that point, but you can. You can. You know, practice that makes perfect, right? The right kind of practice. Let me preface that the right kind of practice makes perfect. Don't practice wrong. You got to practice correctly. But when you're talking about qualities like detachment and indifference, these are qualities that you can cultivate. You cultivate that like you cultivate plants. You know how you put a seed in the ground and you water it and you care for it and watch it sprout and grow? That's how detachment goes. That's how boundaries are. All righty. Okay, let's see. Okay. All right. You know, the other day I was talking to some people, like I said, I think there's a real need for this, you know. There's a real need for this. And, you know, these narcs, they will never change. Expect to get hoovered. You know, every holiday season, I always have a routine that I do starting in September all the way through February. I do an extra routine on top of my daily. And this is a set of grounding rituals, banishing ritual, purification. And I have my own way of doing this. And, you know, it's worked for me forever and a day. You may need to find your own way if you don't already. But that is basically what I recommend, especially if you have a history of having dealt with narcissists in childhood and or in adulthood. They hoover, they do like to hoover because like I said, they don't ever, once a narc has you for supply, you know, they don't want to let go. And like I said, they're not steeped in reality either. No matter what reality shows them, in their mind, they always think they can get back. They can get back in the door with you, you know? And reality just crushes them every minute of having been cut off. They can't take it. They can't take it. And they secretly suffer. Now, some of them may, make a display, a dramatic display. But again, that's just to manipulate and rope you right back in, to put that fog, F-O-G, fear, obligation, and guilt. They'll act out for narc supply attention. They might even pretend they're dying. They might even injure themselves for real, just so they'll be in the hospital to get your attention, to get at you, to control you. But chaos, pain, conflict, strangulation, crisis, this is what they serve up. This is what they like to serve up. So you gotta be careful, right? You gotta be really, really careful on that, because if you're not careful, you can get swept up. And these, like I said, these people never ever change. They'll be 100 years old, lying on their deathbed, eaten up with cancer. And you'll be thinking, man, they've got to finally realize this, right? And they might be laying there crying, and you're thinking, they're finally coming to this. They're finally going to apologize. And then that narc will take their last breath. It will take their last breath and tell you that it was your fault. You deserved it. You provoked it. You provoked them into abusing you. And then they'll leave this world. And you'll be like, they did it again. They did it again. Yeah, that's the narc for you. Will sting you on their deathbed, on their way out. You think, okay, they're dying. Surely they have got to now, want to come clean like a normal human being, right? Because a lot of people, they do bad shit all their life, and they're just, unrepentant, don't care until they die, till they're looking at death. Then they start wanting to repent. They want people's forgiveness, right? They start saying sorry. They start being sincere because they're dying. But these people, not even when they are dying. No. That evilness lasts to the last breath. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you. Please believe it. Yeah, I had to take a quick break there. So we're talking about narcissists, narcissistic, toxic people, places, and things, narcissistic parents. Like I said earlier, society doesn't really understand it. But what society does understand is when a parent is a bad parent. You know, I mean, you got to look at that. And I'm not going to put all parents that have been cut off by their adult sons and daughters as evil and bad. Okay. I'm not going to knock all of them down because there's always an exception to that rule. But we all know when we see somebody that's old, I'm talking about 60s, 70s, 80s, and we know they have adult sons and daughters and they're not around, they don't really want to be bothered with them, we already know what that means, right? We know that these quote-unquote parents, they got some skeletons in their closet in regards to those adult sons and daughters, okay? It takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. Excuse me. It takes a lot for a son or a daughter to cut off their parents, especially a mother. Like when you see females that have sons and daughters, multiparas, is that what we call them in medical terms? Multiparas, when they have had multi-children. I'm looking this up here. Multipara. A multipara. Okay, multipara. A female that is a multipara. That means she's had multiple pregnancies. Okay, so we can call these not mothers but multiparas. Okay, these multiparas, when you see them cut off, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for a son or a daughter to cut off their multipara. Okay, their mother. When you see that already, where there's smoke, there's fire. That's how I think. Okay, and not all mothers that are cut off are horrible mothers. Sometimes there's other extenuating circumstances like a religious cult. Like Jehovah Witness or Muslim or Scientology or Seventh-day Adventist or, whatever other cult. There's a zillion of these cults out there that's, going to cut people off from people's mothers. But when it's not a cult, okay, when these people are not in a cult and they just cut off these narcissistic, toxic mothers, quote unquote, and fathers, then we all know why. Okay, and you can't lie your way out of it. These people cannot lie their way out of it. I have seen this myself. I have seen it with my own eyes where other people that they try to convince that, they didn't do anything wrong and it's all the fault of the daughter or the son, right? Woe is me, poor me, I did everything. And these people never, ever, ever know why their adult sons and daughters have cut them off. I looked at a documentary a couple of weeks ago, and it was this journalist going to these self-help groups, and it was these parents that have been cut off. I guess they have counseling groups for parents that have been cut off by their sons and daughters. Their adult sons and daughters don't want anything to do with them. And they have, evidently, it's a lot of people out there going through that. You know what I mean? And this was I think it was about 10, 15 of these parents, mothers and fathers. And do you know not one single person knew why? Every last one of them, oh, I don't know why. Everything was going good. And then one day it just changed for overnight. And I have no idea why my daughter cut me off. I have no idea why my son cut me off. I have done everything for my son. I have done everything for my children. I have sacrificed my entire life for my child, and this is the thanks he gives me. Get the fuck out of here. None of you know. Every last one of you is completely clueless. Why are these narc motherfuckers always acting clueless? Why are these narc parents always acting like they don't know? Bitch, you know damn well. I just had to laugh at that documentary. Every last one of them was clueless. Now, look, maybe one or two, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there's a couple of them in there that truly don't know. But every last one of you motherfuckers, none of you got any, every last one of you, just completely no earthly clue. Like you don't even have the remotest kind of inkling, right? Oh, sure. Miss me with that bullshit, okay? And they think somebody believes them, you know. That's the thing. People will, you know, they'll humor that narcissist. They'll say, "Oh, I feel so bad for you, and poor you, and yeah, what a bad kid, and blah blah blah." But you know what people do behind when they get away from that narc. I have seen it and heard it myself. They be like, "You know, she says this and this, but I don't know if I believe her." I know, right? Cause da 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 da. Yeah, that's that. When you know. I mean, you know, her own daughter didn't even talk to her through the whole pandemic. Really? Wow. Or his own son didn't even have anything to do with him. He tried to call his son during the pandemic, and he still didn't bother with him. Wow. What did they do to their kids for them to be like that? Takes a lot, don't it? But some of these parents... Some people have no idea what some of these parents have put their own flesh and blood through behind closed doors. I'm here to tell you. It's a lot of secrets out there, and if we all were able to tell everything we all went through, I think this world would be in shock all over again. Armageddon would have nothing compared to this. COVID would have nothing. World War I and II would have nothing compared to this. Because I guarantee you, if we reached far back, and had a clear look at what our human society really has going on, I think it would change how we even see ourselves. I don't even know if we would be able to ID what human really is anymore. If we've really, really cleaned out that damn closet. Okay? Clean it out. Shine a light on this darkness. Shine a light. And that's the thing that these narcissists do not like. They don't want you to shine a light on them. They will kill you. They will try to annihilate you. They might not do it directly, but they'll get their flying monkeys and their henchmen to try and help. So, yeah. You know, we had... like I said earlier, they like to kick it up certain times of the year, and this type of season is usually a common time when they kick it up. Now, some narcissists, they all year round, and, you know, they just get worse around this time. So one of the things I just told you about, self-awareness, shining a light, illuminating the dark, okay? So another thing that you can do to protect yourself and to ward off these narcs and anyone like them is to actively work on self-awareness. Actively work on self-awareness. And that's a broad spectrum. There's so many things you can do as far as self-awareness is concerned, right? But one of the things you might want to keep in mind amidst all that is you want to be as aware as you can of your triggers and your own shortcomings, your own vulnerabilities, your own darkness, your own shadow. We all have dark and light in us. Your own narcissistic tendencies. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I'm not saying you're a narcissist, but what I'm saying is perhaps you may have picked up fleas from that narc during your childhood that you may not be aware of, right? I mean, it's plausible, right? And if you do find that, don't be judgmental on yourself. Be easy on yourself, okay? You're a human being, okay? You didn't choose this. This was done to you, but now it's your responsibility to undo it and to do the hard work. And you can, as a man and as a woman, or as a non-binary individual, or whatever the gender is, you can do this. You can do this. As an adult, you can do this. It takes hard work. It's scary. It's painful. It's discomfort. It's uncomfortable. But check this out. All of this are things that scare the narcissist. Self-awareness scares the shit out of the narcissist. They're not going to be self-aware. They're going to run from that. Illuminating their darkness, confronting their own darkness and their own shadow. Are you kidding me? Hell no, they're not going to do that. Taking accountability, responsibility. They're not going to do that. So these are clues where you can get started and protect yourself, because if you're doing this work with yourself, you're already a million steps ahead of that narc. That narc has already lost so much power simply by you stepping up your game in these areas and making the proper decisions. Making that decision to start now. Working on increased self-awareness. If you've been working on it, continue and boost it. Can you get a new, fresh perspective on something? You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Excuse me. So we have the self-awareness and the self-care, which self-awareness is, I put that under self-care. Okay. Another thing is pain tolerance. Increasing your pain tolerance. Your physical and mental and emotional pain tolerance. And now, pain, I want to tell you about this first. There's different flavors of pain. Not all pain is the same. Basically, you can divide it into two types, good pain and bad pain. And what I mean by bad pain, I mean by injurious, damaging pain. The pain that's unnecessary, right? The kind of pain that injures and that doesn't build. The kind of pain that damages. That's not the kind of pain I'm talking about getting desensitized to. That's not the kind of pain. I'm talking about working with good pain. What is good pain? Good pain is the pain of growth, the pain of living life. You can't have life without growth. Expansion, evolvement. So where can you start? What is the basic way that you can increase your pain tolerance in a good way? Diet and exercise. Did I hit it on the nail? Oh yeah, that's painful. That's even painful to think about for some people, right? If you're not in that flow, it's what? Oh yeah, that is painful. Ooh, no thanks. But this is where I bring in diet and exercise, because health, the healthier you are, the stronger you are in dealing and continuing to be no contact, if you've gone no contact of, cutting people off, cutting narcs off. But the stronger you are, the healthier you are, the better of a chance you are of being protected from such people, places, and things. That's basically what I'm saying, right? So when you're doing diet and exercise, you're contributing and investing in your health. Now, the pain, back to this pain thing, because pain and discomfort are two things that the narc is going to induce. Now, they're going to induce bad pain. They're going to try and do bad pain on you and bad discomfort. But the thing about it is, if you've had a steady, gradual exposure to good pain through weightlifting and exercise and through dieting, cutting back calories, cutting back on certain things that may not be healthy for you and eating more of the healthy foods, that takes some discipline. That is painful. It's uncomfortable. It's a change in your life. Physical exercise is actually physically painful. You're burning these muscles, you're burning calories, you're stretching. This is uncomfortable. It's a good pain, right? You're going to be sore. This is pain, soreness, but it's a good pain. It's the pain of growth. Well, if you're constantly exposing yourself to that kind of good pain over and over, and I'm talking about gradual, I'm not talking about, just throwing yourself off the deep end, but you're gradually doing these things. Now, when that narcissist tries to bang up against you and they do their narcissistic shit, you have that much more strength, you see, because your mind has a counterpart to the body. When your muscles are being pumped and worked and they're sore and exercised, you have an emotional and spiritual and mental counterpart to those muscles. And those muscles are also being worked. So your emotional strength and resilience is being worked right along with that bicep or that quadricep or that calf muscle or the cardio that you're doing. You see, your mental resilience is being exercised the same way, because mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you have to have enough energy to be able to do the exercise. If you're mentally conked out, most likely you're not going to be able to work out in the gym. You're not going to be able to pump iron. You're not going to be able to do an hour of cardio if you're mentally and emotionally conked out, right? You're going to be to pieces laying in bed somewhere. So they all work together and they all transcend and cross over. So gradually and constantly exposing yourself to physical good pain via exercise and mental and emotional good pain via disciplining through diet and nutrition, tracking calories, as a symbol of your intention to be all the more self-aware. Check this out. How self-aware are you? I told you there was many different ways to do it, right? Well, one way is to just track everything you put in your mouth, whether it's liquid or solid. Track everything you put in your mouth. There's apps like Fat Secret or MyFitnessPal, or you can just take a notebook. But the thing is, start tracking. Start for a day, start for a week, start for a month, start for a year. Start for a certain time. Make a deal with yourself. I'm going to track everything I put in my mouth for a week. And I whatever it is, stay honest. Keep your integrity. Do not skip. Don't say, oh, well, that doesn't count. Or, maybe if I just, no, track everything. You're talking about self-awareness. That's the real reason you're starting this tracking for this particular purpose, is for self-awareness. As a symbol, every time you put that in there, in the app, you track that food or that beverage, it is reminding you of your intention to become more self-aware. And yes, on the surface, it may look, well, it's just diet and exercise. What's this got to do with anything? But when you peel beneath it, All of those patterns, those habits you're creating for self-awareness, for accountability, guess what? It's taken away from that narcissist's power over you, because that is the last thing they want to do. And they need you to be like them. You need to be someone who doesn't want to be self-aware for them to be able to fuck with you. You see what I mean? They're not going to rock with you if you're someone who's self-aware, because if you're self-aware, you're going to cut them off. You're not going to have that narc in your life. You're going to be healthy. You see? So you need to be someone who's not responsible. You need to be someone who's not self-aware, who's not going to confront your own darkness. We all have darkness. We all have things that we do wrong. But we don't all want to confront them. And some of us, it just takes a little longer than others. But that's the thing. You doing this work with you takes power away from people like the narc, especially if you're dealing with narcissistic parents. This is real power right here. You have the power. Remember, they need you to need them. And if you are able to give yourself all of what your mother and your father didn't and wouldn't, then you don't need anything from them. And you can get to that point. It is possible. It is possible to get to that point where you don't need anything from these people. You don't need anything. And when you get to that point, it is it's very liberating. It's a relief. It's a very big relief. It's freeing. Free as the birds in the sky. But pain tolerance, your tolerance for pain and discomfort, okay? These are the two things, the next two things you want to constantly work on. And if you haven't already, these start on it right now. Start on it right now. Like I said, there's a million ways to do this. You could do sit-ups. You know, I'm going from the physical exercise perspective because everyone can do it. You know, you don't need any equipment. You can do this now. Like you can literally just do 5 sit-ups or 10 sit-ups, however many you can handle, or push-ups or jumping jacks. Again, this is getting out of your comfort zone. There's a little bit of pain involved, right? Especially if you're not used to exercising. But regular diet and exercise, working out a minimum of 3 to 5 days a week. And I know people say, I don't have time. You have time. You can make time. You can sit there on your cell phone for hours. You can watch TV for hours. You can exercise. You can use that time to exercise. You know what? You can watch a whole Netflix movie on a treadmill at the gym. I do it all the time. I'll watch a whole YouTube thing on the ellipse. I'll read a book on a recumbent bike. I'll catch up with my studies on the recumbent. So you have time. You can do things. You can do things. You can make time. And, on a side note, our bodies physically are designed to be working out and exercising 3 to 5 hours every day, actually. At least 3 days a week. Like 3 days, our bodies can take it. You know, our bodies are they're meant to hunt and gather. So imagine, back in the ancient times before we had refrigerators and grocery stores and Starbucks and McDonald's, We had to go hunt for our food. We weren't sitting behind a desk and behind a computer 8 and 12 hours a day. We were out there hunting gazelles and buffalo, and those animals they're very fast. They're not easy to catch. So there might have been days and maybe even weeks between the time we caught one of those things to eat. Okay? So we had to do a lot of physical exercise. That's why it's so hard to lose weight and get rid of the fat, because our bodies are designed to hold on to fat storage because there were starvation periods. Okay, we might have had one gazelle a month. So the rest of the time we might be hungry, and we might be gathering berries and low calorie stuff, but still we had to gather all day. We had to go pick that stuff up that took a lot of calories and energy, right? So our bodies are designed to hold on to fat storage, you see? And because we've grown up in a different time period, we think it's a big deal if we work out 3 and 4 hours a day. But our bodies are designed to work out and exercise 3 to 5 hours every day. Every day. It's just that we're in a time period where we have unnatural settings around us. We have grocery stores where we can just go pick up the meat and the food. Or we can order Instacart, we can order Grubhub. So we sit behind a computer all day at work. Yeah, we're working. Our brains are taxed for sure. But our bodies haven't physically moved like they're supposed to. Okay? So this is another vulnerability that we all tend to have. This is nothing new. Like I told you, I'm not going to tell you anything new. But you need to be looking at how important your physical health is, what you put in your mouth, and your exercise. It is not just for losing weight or gaining muscle or looking better or feeling better. That has its place, but I'm talking to you about doing this for a whole other deeper reason here. Okay? Put a bigger purpose behind what you're doing, behind everything, behind your whole life. Make your whole life into a ritual. Make your whole life into a prayer if you're so inclined to if that's your vernacular there, okay? Make your whole life into a living masterpiece. I told you I'm an artist, first and foremost. I use very, very, very many different types of medium for expression. But I see our lives as a work of art, like a painting on the wall that an artist has. So, when there's an art gallery, there's many, many lives that person has lived and many masterpieces of art that person has lived and created through living those things. And this is what I see. But again, when you have a higher purpose beyond yourself and it's solid in who and what you are and what you're living every second of the day, that narcissist can't touch that. That old narc cannot even get close. Okay? Again, these things have multiple benefits in multiple areas of your life. But the skills that you're developing through these things, because these aren't easy things I'm talking about. These are uncomfortable things. You're going to be out of your comfort zone. You're going to have pain. You're going to need to sacrifice your time, your energy, right? But that's what I'm telling you. It takes away from that narc's power. If you are in the throes of a narcissist, you find yourself, slipping or whatever the case is, what do? Hit that gym. Diet for a day. Okay, if you don't feel like you need to diet, okay. But what I'm telling you is restrict something here. Restrict a desire. Pull back. Self-discipline. Okay? Self-discipline. And you need physical self-discipline. You need that physical exercise. Like, this is not negotiable. Like, you can ignore it. I've been guilty of that too, right? Everybody, I think at one point or another, has been slacked up on that exercise thing. But again, this is a human, natural, physiological, and physical need. It's easy to neglect. It's easy to put on the back burner, but it is still a need that it's your health. It's your health. And narcissistic tendencies within us all are those things that we're doing that aren't for our well-being. So when we're not eating healthy, that's a narcissistic habit. That's a narc tendency. That's a toxic, dysfunctional action and decision and habit. When we're not drinking enough water, when we're not exercising enough, again, it's a narcissistic action. It's a narc tendency within us. Excuse me. Okay. So under that self-care, there is that pain tolerance increase. Your tolerance for discomfort and pain. And that really prepares you for life and for death, because life has a lot of things in pain, a lot of things uncomfortable. All right, so, with that pain, I know that some people don't really, they're like, you know what, I can't do it. I don't want to. I'm too scared, whatever. You got to go through the pain to get to the other side of that pain, because on the other side of that pain is success. You got to go through that pain. I know I had my surgery in Bangkok some years ago. I can laugh about it now. I wasn't laughing back then. But, I had a total of more than 8,000 nerves that were severed and signaling pain to me. 8,000 points of pain. I call it 8K pop. Not K-pop like Korean pop. This is the Bangkok pop. Okay? This is the Thailand pop. Points of pain. Bangkok pop. 8K pop. 8,000 nerves severed. Can you imagine 8,000 points of pain signaling to you all at once? For I don't know what. A whole fucking... That shit was going on for about 6 to 8 months. Yeah. But in the acute phase, when I say acute phase, I'm talking about mind bending, mind melting, ego dissolving pain. Pain so intense, it takes you out of body. It changed me. It would change anybody. It would change anybody. Pain so intense, it break you down, you die. Your body doesn't die, but you die. You died. There's no way you're going to survive that. You're going to die alone. You die alone in a hospital in Bangkok, Thailand. And when you resurrect from that, the phoenix that rises from all of that is a new and different person. Yeah. You have a different outlook on people around you for sure. especially the ones that should have been there. You shouldn't have been there alone. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing. A narc parent will let you sit in a hospital alone and go through that while they sit at home and watch TV. It's not like they can't join you. They just can't be bothered. Can't be bothered, you see? Ain't got no time for you and your stuff, whatever you're going through. They got no time to teach you English. You coming to America don't know anything but shut up and bullshit, curse words that you would screamed at. Those are the only English words you know. They got no time to teach you English to try and help you in school so you don't fail and get held back. Oh, no. They got no time to help you. They can't be bothered. But they can sit around and cry and talk about, I don't know why my children don't want to talk to me. They can't be bothered, bitch. That's why. What they need you for? They had to raise their own selves. They had to go through all these things themselves. So what do they need you for? They got their own money. They got their own family. They got their own love and nurturing and support. So what do they need you for? Because you can't give none of that. You ain't giving none of that. But listen, you've got your own 8K pop. It may not be the same exact story as me and my life experience as far as pain is concerned. And maybe you haven't gone through the intensity that I have, but you've gone through enough intensity for yourself. Whatever the most painful thing in your life that you have had to go through alone, those are your reservoirs of power and resilience. And you can take those, imagine them being this huge, huge trough of just white light, this huge container of just this powerful, raw, white light of power. And you see all of those experiences in there, inside of that white light of what you went through. That's your reservoir of power, and you have that for your life and for your death in the afterlife. You have that. No one can ever take that away. That's not something you're going to forget because it's in your body. Even if your brain doesn't have the memory recall, it's still stored in your body, right? It's trauma. Well, you can transmute that. You can transition. You can transfer. Listen to me, I'm the king of transitions, okay? A transgender king of transitions is telling you can take all of that trauma and all of that pain and suffering and abuse that these narcs heaped on you and otherwise, you can take all of that and turn it into raw power for yourself. You know why? Because everything in life is a pattern. This whole cosmos, this whole universe is patterns within patterns. Or what we call in psychology archetypes. In archetypes or patterns, you can run them forwards and you can run them backwards. So if that pattern is moving a certain way and it's dysfunctional and toxic, don't get rid of the actual pattern. Just run it the other way. You can back engineer that bad boy and transition, transmute and change. You see, life is about change, as scary as that is. And guess what? When you're doing all of these things that I've laid out here for you today, you're causing change. You are comfortable with change, you see. And that is a scary thing for that narc, because narcs don't like change. They want the same stagnant shit day in and day out. They don't ever change their MOs. They don't ever change from being narcs. They stay consistently the same. No matter how old your narc parent gets, no matter how sick your narc parent gets, they will not change. And they will never apologize. What they call apologies, quote unquote, are kicks in the face. You know, they'll say, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you're hurt. That's the best you'll probably get. If they do apologize, it's a manipulation attempt. It's an attempt to fuck with you, to control you, dominate you, whatever the case is, to get you to submit to them. But a real sincere regret and repentance and apology, no, they don't change. And you are the one who's comfortable with change because you're changing yourself. You're changing yourself into a healthy person who is going to be protected from this narc and detached and has healthy boundaries. So you got to get in there and get comfortable with pain tolerance. Remember, I'm talking about the good pain. And like I said, there's many ways to do that. One of the most basic and straightforward ways is regular physical exercise and dieting. That right there is hugely, for me anyway, in my opinion, I think it's quite a bit of pain and discomfort, just those two things. Adhering to those two things on a daily basis is, and I'm not saying you need to exercise every single day, 3 to 5 hours, okay? I personally would recommend a minimum of 3 days a week, and when you do it, at least 2 to 3 hours, 3 days a week. Okay, now you may not be able to do, 2 hours each time. So, spread it out 5 days a week, 1 hour every day, 5 days a week, or, but you need to have at least about 10 hours a week of physical exercise. And if you can't do 10 hours, go for as much as you can. You know what I mean? But that's just my view on it. I'm not a doctor. It's just my experience. But anyway, as far as like the nutrition and all that, you know what to do. Don't eat anything in a box. Stay away from the fast food. Fresh fruits and vegetables. Leave off the gravies. Leave off the salt, sugar, and fat. Change your taste buds. Here we go again with that change. You can change your taste buds. A lot of people don't believe in it. I've eaten rice all my life. I'm never going to let go of rice. Hey, if you got that attitude, you're your own worst enemy in this. Because you can let go. You can let go of things a little bit. You don't have to let go forever, but you can scale back. That's the whole thing, scaling back. Because, again, the narc doesn't have that self-control. And a lot of times they are addicted to things because they have addictive personalities, and whatever transaction you have with them will be an addictionship, not a relationship, an addictionship, because they want you to be addicted to them. They want to control you. And because they are on that low vibration, they themselves end up being addicted. One of the things they're addicted to is other people's pain and misfortune. Okay, they're addicted to feeding off of that. But they also may have other addictions, cigarette addiction, food addiction, gambling, porn, whatever the case is. And I'm not saying people who have addictions are necessarily narcissistic, but there is a lot of narcissistic dysfunctional tendencies within addictions, period, whether they are a narc or not. So let's not get that twisted. But Again, not everyone that's addicted to things, to drugs, to alcohol, whatever, is narcissist, right? But narcs have a high rate of addiction to these substances too, because that's the kind of life that they're living, and they are not going to change that. Okay, so excuse me. These are the ways you bulletproof yourself. Again, because once you become aware of these things, you know, we can sit here and talk about all the details of what narcs do, but you can Google that. You can reflect back on what you've experienced. But now, what about bulletproofing in an ongoing maintenance program, right? And this is what I'm laying out to you here. You know, regular diet and exercise, self-awareness, working on self-awareness. You might want to have some counseling going on, one-on-one and group, bibliotherapy, reading up on these things, watching YouTube videos. That's what I do. And constantly having it on my mind to work on, you see, because you can turn this thing with the narc around. You don't have to be forever enslaved in a depression. And these narcs, they will cause you to be suicidal. I've talked to countless people who had narc parents who suffer or had suffered from debilitating depression, ongoing depression, and even suicidal ideations. You know, this is the damage these people do. And they have a history. They have, some of them have a trail of dead bodies where, you know, even people that they were in a relationship with, they might have been a fiance with someone, and, you know, they did them so dirty that person ended up being suicidal. You know, I mean, these narcs, this is what they do. They kill people. They soul murder. They soul murder their own flesh and blood. And they soul murder whoever they're with, whoever is in their vicinity. They will, if they can get close enough, they will soul murder that person. So physically, you don't have a trail of bodies because these people are physically still alive, but they may as well not be because they've been murdered and they have not been able to come back. And there are people out there, casualties, you know, they have been abused by their narcissistic parents to the point where they weren't able to, it broke them for good, you know, and they died as crackheads on the street, or they killed themselves. You know, these stories are many, and there are plenty, way too many. One, even if it was one, it would be one too many. And these are sad stories. You know, there's people that's debilitated. They're on disability all their life. You know, they have very little in life. They have to deal with depression because of these people. So, if you are one of those people, just know that there is a light at the end of that tunnel. It takes time. It takes a lot. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes effort. But just know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that you can be free. You can be happier. You can be healthier, and you can be healed. You can go further. You can evolve. And you don't owe these people anything. Back to the gym for a minute there. You know, I'm a big believer in training to failure. And in the workout scene, we have something called train to failure. And what that means is you are exercising a particular body part until it cannot lift that particular weight. It can't do one more repetition. Okay, and that's training to failure. Excuse me. So failure has a big part that it plays in success as far as you're talking about bodybuilding and fitness. And when you are exercising, you're not training to success. Because success means that you haven't exhausted that muscle. If you can lift another repetition successfully, then you still got some strength there left and some energy left in that muscle to be trained. So the key is training to failure. You would think we should all train for success, right? But in order for success to be there, you want to train to failure. Because if you can't lift that muscle one more repetition, you've exhausted that muscle. And that is what it takes for that muscle to grow. So if you want big, strong arms, big, strong biceps, you don't go in the gym to train for success. You go in to train for failure. Now, that's one way to train, okay? It's not the only way to train, but that is, when you're looking at bodybuilders, when you're looking at people who have extraordinary bodies that don't look average, you can tell, they work out, they diet, you can really tell. That's what they're doing. They're training to failure. So how does this fit in with what we're talking about here? Training to failure. And I'm not saying you need to train to failure to, in your workouts. That's one way to do it if you are looking for muscle hypertrophy. Training to failure. Okay. Basically, the whole idea behind training to failure is to reach your limits and cross that threshold, you see. So if you're only able to do 12 repetitions, let's say on a bench press, okay, you can only bench press, let's say 225 pounds. You can only bench press that 12 repetitions. And on those last two, you're really, really struggling. And that last one, you needed a little help. Like you couldn't even lift it the whole way. You needed a spotter. Excuse me. Then you've trained to failure, okay? You've reached your limit. You're crossing your limits here. And you're reaching for a little bit better. And that's the whole principle behind this whole thing here. Because that narc is not going to do that. They're not going to do it for themselves, and they damn sure won't do it for you. And if you want to make sure that you don't end up like that narc, especially if you come from a narc parent or parents, then this is the key. This is the core of it right here. This is the crucial key right here. Going past your comfort zone, going past what you've been taught, going past the dysfunction, going past your own limitations, going past your fears and confronting your fears, going past your fears and confronting your own darkness and your own shadow, going past your fears and feeling overwhelmed of dealing with your emotions, especially certain things that are highly charged for you. Your emotions can be very uncomfortable. Here's that pain and discomfort tolerance kicking in. Boom. Okay? Because you've been working out all the time. When you hit the gym, you really hit the gym. You're used to pain and discomfort. So now it's crossing over into that emotional overwhelm and discomfort that you might feel in a certain situation. Maybe someone's trying to manipulate you. Boom. You see it for what it is, and you make the proper decisions, detach, set your boundaries, and boom, guess what? Your homeostasis is maintained. Your peace is maintained. You are unbothered. You are bulletproof. You are resilient. You see? This is what we're looking at here. Your physical body has a non-physical correspondence. All the muscles in your physical body, you have leg muscles, arm muscles, chest, right? Pecs, quads, biceps, triceps, forearms, gastrocnemius, gluteus, maximus, laterals, the lats, the trapezius. All of these, the shoulder muscles, all of these have a non-physical counterpart. They have an emotional counterpart. You have an emotional body. You have a mental body. You have a psychic body. You have a spiritual body. You have a physical body. You have 5 different types of bodies here. You have correspondences. And everything you do as far as like working out, there is a part of you that benefits permanently from those workouts. There is a muscle memory physically that is stored. So if you say for whatever reason you fall off the wagon and you get out of shape for a certain amount of time, when you get back to it, there is a memory, and now your body responds quicker than it would have had you not worked out ever before. And mentally and emotionally, psychically and spiritually, the same thing. And there are parts of you that have a permanent benefit from a permanent non-physical benefit from the actual physical exercise that you do. Lifting weights, a lot of people don't know this unless you are in that weightlifting community and in that fitness community deep enough. But to a lot of people, that fitness and weightlifting and diet thing is a form of spirituality, and it is their bridge connecting them to the divine. It is something that people do to connect and commune with the divine or the higher self, or what they may call God, or the all, or the absolute, or the creator, or whatever other terms you want to put in there and use for that. And this is another way, when you are connecting to your higher self, or whatever you want to call that, again, that is something that the narc can't reach, because you're talking about light. You're talking about illumination. You're talking about self-awareness, because anytime you do that, there is a certain amount of responsibility you're going to be clued into that you have to acknowledge and hold yourself accountable for. And again, that narc cannot keep up with you on that. That narc's not going to go down there. That narc is not going to go up that path. That narc is going to stay down there where it likes to stay. So this is, again, a way to bulletproof yourself, a way to protect yourself, a way to ward that off, because there are things you can do internally that will ward off narcissists like that. It will make them not want to deal with you. It will repel them. And these are the things that repel them. Okay? Just a sprinkle a day, watch your narc fade away. Have you sprinkled your narcissist today? Just a sprinkle a day, Narc-Away. Now you can spray your narcissist away. With 3 sprays a day, you can just sprinkle those sprays right on that narc and watch it disappear. Yes. Narc-Away, have you sprinkled your narcissist today? Oh boy. Let me see. All right. I wanted to have this structured out a certain way today, this video here, and I decided to just let go of control a little bit. I'm trying something new. So we'll see how well that works out. We'll see how well it works out. I know where I'm going. Don't you wanna come too? I don't know why that song's in my head. I guess I'll play it. You know, it's all about you. Like I said, you are the one in control. You are the adult now. And so in some of the other videos, I've told you, you don't need to be bothered with these people. If they're not the right people for you, you know, so what if they're your mother and father? If they are abusive and toxic, and even if they're not abusive and toxic, if they are just not healthy for your well-being, fuck them. You deserve better, don't you? You are the one in control of your life. You are the one in control of your healing. You got to deal with the cards you've been dealt with, and you got to face that. You cannot be running from it all your life. You going to keep running from the truth? If your parents are narcissists, then you need to accept that. You need to face that shit. You need to face it head on. Fucking face that devil. Face that demon. Face that scary shadow. And go past the actual person to the pattern. Go to the pattern behind the pattern. And get at that. And change and work that. Because every time you do that, every time you get better, don't you know the rest of us have an opportunity to get better too? We're all interconnected. So every time you overcome something, every time you have a small win, every time you go work out, every time you exercise, every time you eat something healthy instead of something unhealthy, every time you scale back from the beers or the booze, every time you scale back from social media and just meditate to ground yourself, every time you have a little win of some sort, somewhere, somehow, don't you know you bring a win to me and to everyone else that ever lived or ever will live? So you're not just getting better for you, like you're making the world a better place by getting better. And by being better already. I mean, hell, you know, no matter how amazing you are now, there's always room to just be just that much more amazing, right? But, you know, don't look at your failures as setbacks the same way. And I know that there's setbacks. There's setbacks. There's shortcomings. We all have that. That's how it is. But do they really have to be the same way? Can you make something out of them too? Can you turn that lead into gold? Because that's what we're talking about. You can't change what's happened to you in the past, but you can take that and turn that into raw currency, raw magical power. Now, I'm using a vernacular magical for, I know that there's people watching this of different various backgrounds on a couple of different platforms, but those of us who are in the know of the know, you know what I'm talking about. You can turn this into raw magical power to heal, to transform, transmute, transition. The transition hasn't ended. The transition has only begun. Everyone transitions, might not be gender wise, but we all have transitions that we go through. Change is a part of everyone's life. Change is a part of life. And by the way, these workouts, like I said, some people are they can be a sort of they can be a type of spirituality. Because remember, Kung Fu and martial arts, that started with a spirituality first. The physical movements and exercises of Kung Fu and Judo and Jiu-Jitsu and all of that, the origination of that was done and performed in a temple, in a spiritual temple to deities. In fact, that's where they learned these moves and exercises. At least that's what the literature and the folklore says, is that the deity showed them these exercises and movements of what we now know of Kung Fu and karate and Jiu-Jitsu and Judo and whatever else we have here, right? By the way, did you know that there's African martial arts? Kilindi Lee, I think that's his name. Kilindi Lee, he's on YouTube. I forget the school that he had, but African martial arts. I did not know. Pretty cool. I always thought it was Asian, but I think martial arts has been around all across the globe in different cultures. So anyway, that's just a side note over there. But yeah. Something else you might want to look at as far as self-awareness and self-care is doing certain kinds of grounding exercises. If you know what banishing rituals are, I highly, highly recommend banishing rituals on the reg, along with those grounding exercises. Or just if you don't know what banishing is, don't worry about it right now. But anything to help ground you, clear your mind, and relax you to where you can have control over your mind for a certain point of time. Some stillness there, right? Where you can kind of, if you can't clear the thoughts out completely, just go where you can do rhythmic breathing for 10, 15 minutes consistently, right? Focused rhythmic breathing. Also, there is something called visualization, and I use that in conjunction with the weightlifting, of course. So there's different ways to do that. You can be as creative as you want on that, but the whole point is to connect what you're doing physically with the divine or with your higher self and your higher purpose. So let's see, if you're doing banishing rituals and you want to connect that to the weightlifting, before and after. Sometimes you can also do certain kinds during, but that's a little bit more advanced. Let's see, but if you're somebody that's into, if you pray or whatever, you can, do your prayers before your workouts, or Do your prayers in your before your rhythmic breathing. You know, the whole idea is to purify and to calm and reset and to ground. Okay, that's the whole idea of that. So whatever is symbolic to you as purification and grounding, use it. Okay, so I call that rhythmic therapy here. This rhythmic therapy, this goes into body work and somatic therapy and some other ones like polyvagal. I think that's what it's called, polyvagal therapy. Let me look this up again. I just found out about this. Polyvagal therapy. Nervous system regulation. Yeah, so this is all about nervous system regulation, exactly. And again, like I told you before, trauma is stored physically in the body and in the brain. And there are different types of therapies to release that trauma so you can reprocess it uh, uh, um, in a healthy way and it's not stuck constantly causing PTSD. That's basically what PTSD is. And CPTSD and these other trauma states causing depression and anxiety and other issues because these traumas are still stored in your body and in your brain, in your physical brain. The body doesn't memorize just mentally in the brain. It also has a physical memory. So even though you might not remember particular memories, certain things are still stored in your physical body. And the ones that you do remember also have a physical component. Earlier, I told you that the exercises you do, the physical exercises, remember I said there is a non-physical component, a corresponding component where that muscle is worked too. Well, it works the other way around when there's trauma and you have a memory that is a traumatic memory and you have PTSD from these experiences and these things that you went through. Well, your body, your physical body also has a corresponding part there that is affected. Okay, so it works both ways. It's a two-way street there. So when you're working on the mind as far as mental health, there's also a part where you need to work on the body if you've had trauma and if you've been dealing with narcissistic parents and narcissists in your life, period. So rhythmic therapy is one of them that I like, and that's basically you're using rhythmic breathing in conjunction with moving your body. Okay, so let's say you're walking. So you're going to get into a rhythm, and the rhythm can be as fast or as slow as what is comfortable with you. The whole point is to be able to relax and change your state of mind a little bit. Okay, so you're probably not going to be walking too fast, but you're going to be walking in a rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I'm clapping my hands in the rhythm, right? Well, in that, you're going to combine rhythmic breathing with rhythmic walking or rhythmic movement, okay, whatever that movement is, which can include weightlifting, okay? So you can lift, let's say you're doing bicep curls, right? And you're wanting to do a rhythmic set of bicep curls along with rhythmic breathing that is in conjunction with the movement of the arm, right? So this is where this really works well, because when you're doing a slow rhythmic movement, slow enough, you're not doing it too fast, where you're actually able to alter your consciousness and get into a relaxed but highly focused trance, you're able to expand. And you're able to tap into things that you're not ordinarily able to because you're too tense and constricted. You see? And when you've gone through trauma, that tension is chronic. you're never able to relax from that unless you do rhythmic work and body work as far as relaxation, meditation, rhythmic breathing, exercise, things of that nature. So this is another part of it. This is another part of protecting and staying protected from narcissists like this. Because if you're relaxed, you're able to make better decisions. You're able to see much more clearly. If you're tense and stressed, there's a lot of things you miss because you're in fight or flight mode. And when you've had trauma and you've got PTSD, you're constantly on that fight or flight mode, you see? So it's going to affect all kinds of things in your life, chronically, long term. Okay, so this is another thing you need to look at, is taking your body and doing some body work, and that is relaxation techniques such as rhythmic breathing, getting massages. I know this might be a little expensive, but maybe you can go to the mall and get into one of those massage chairs. A body massage, or if you have someone, a spouse or a lover or a friend, sometimes you might need to pay for one. Okay, I think it's good if you have a good massage therapist and get a massage, try to get a massage in at least once a week. I know if you can't afford it, do what you can in that end. If not, massage yourself where you can. And there's also massage guns, there's therapy guns that help block tension, help unlock tension from different parts of your body. So there's all kinds of options on that. Another thing, chiropractor or acupuncture. If you're into that, stretching, regular stretching, and then, like I said, different kinds of therapy like polyvagus therapy. I think that's what it's called. Okay, let's see. Yeah. I think that's what it was called, yeah. But that's what you'll want to do, is to really make sure that you stay on top of yourself, that you treat yourself good, not at other people's expense. This stuff that you're doing here, setting boundaries, you need to set boundaries. Boundaries is a part of life. Detaching, you need to detach from everybody at some point to some extent. Okay? This is not to hurt, this is not done to hurt anyone. This is not done to retaliate or anything like that. Boundaries and a healthy detachment is a crucial part of every relationship, be it personal or professional. You need some distance and space from everyone to one point or another at some point or another. You need some space from work. You need some distance and space from your coworkers. You need some distance and space from your spouse sometimes, from your kids, from your parents, okay? It's a healthy part of life to have distance and space to certain degrees with certain people, depending on the situation, right? We all need that. We all need that. And this is something that narcissists don't respect. Narcissistic parents, They don't respect that because in their mind, you are their property. They caused your birth, and in their mind is you came out of their body, so they own you forever. They own you for life. And they are not unlike slave masters. They are not unlike these colonists that came and enslaved and killed and took over the native people of different countries around the world. They are not unlike the tribes that robbed and killed their neighbors, their neighboring tribes, and conquered them. They're not unlike what you read in books like the Bible when the chosen people were sanctioned to go and kill others that weren't believers and take their women and take their loot and their wealth and enslave the women. This is what that pattern is. That pattern is just a pattern, though, and that pattern can be reversed. And each of us has that opportunity in our personal life situation to reverse that pattern for our own healing, you see. So give yourself that gift this Christmas. You've got some gifts to give yourself. You've got a little work to do now. I think it's fun. I think you should look at it as a fun opportunity. You know, does it have to be the way you think? Does it have to be as hard and as scary as you think? Maybe not. You know, maybe if you just have a little faith in yourself, you would surprise yourself. You could really surprise yourself. You'd be like, what? Is this me? Who's this person? What? Am I really doing it? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're kicking ass, and I'm proud of you. You see? But yeah, so for my peeps that have, there's quite a few out there, I think. I've had some interesting conversations already. It started for some people here, as far as this the narcissistic toxic parents and the narcissists in their lives kicking it up already. And I shouted the warning out back in September when I said happy holidays, people, because these cockroaches are scurrying about looking. These vampire cockroaches are out on the prowl. You got to just stomp them things, spray them with some Narc-Away, you know what I mean?
Shower to shower. All our powders help keep you dry and smelling clean between showers. Have you had your sprinkle today?
Now people are feeling shower fresh in a surprising new way.
Shower to shower each day. Musky odor away.
Introducing Shower to Shower Antiperspirant.
Shower to shower each day. Helps keep wetness away.
Oh my God, that's a horrible commercial. Is that where this is from? Just a sprinkle a day. Watch your narc fade away. Ooh. see here.
Crazy, sexy,
What is this?
crazy, sexy, crazy.
Damn, girlie look pretty fly in those jeans.
Her
right
girlie
there,
look
tight
very
jeans.
wrong. Real nasty.
Who the
Stank.
cutters?
You know what
Guys
I'm
be
talking
digging
about.
all
She need a
that
case
jeans.
of hoe
Cute
remover.
behind. Hoe remover.
Just a sprinkle a day. Watch your hoe fade away. Has your hoe been sprinkled today?
Be my hoe any day.
Alrighty. Well, I think I'm going to end it on that note. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time, energy, and attention. Hope you have a good week coming up. I know I am. Woo, I'm having some goodies coming up. I'm going to end this with a song. I dedicate this song to everybody that has been listening. You know who you are. You know we've had our convos. We've had our discussions. We're going to continue to talk about it, right? But I dedicate this to you and to myself. I know where I'm going because we know who we are. You know who you are. Don't let these narcs try to tell you who you are and who you aren't. You know who you are. Drop them zeros and find your hero in the mirror. Okay? Bam.
I know where I'm going. Don't you wanna come too? I got my reservations and I got one for you. Trains are leaving just after dark. There's always room for a loving heart. I know where I'm going. Don't you wanna come too? I know my destination. It's all waiting for me. I got no hesitation. That's where I want to be. By the time that the sun comes up, I'll be drinking from a loving cup. I know where I'm going. Don't you wanna come too? Don't you wanna come? Don't you wanna ride? Don't you wanna be there by my side? Hand in hand, holding on to sweet salvation that's waiting for me and you. I know what I'm singing. Don't you wanna sing too? Can't you hear the bells are ringing? Let the spirit move you.
Oh, yeah.
Close your eyes and let it flow.
Lean your head back and let it go.